8 babies per day nationally will die. That's only stillbirths. When you add in neonatal deaths, the figure rises again to just under 4,500. Then we've got to include the terminations for fetal anomalies. Now this can take place up to term and does. So once you include those as well, we're looking at nearly 10,000 babies a year will die in the UK. Okay, so that's 10,000 families.
Yeah, I read that one.
1 in 4.
1 in 4 pregnancies, it is thought, and actually that's a conservative figure.
I had no idea.
It is quite horrendous. I mean, this is from sort of knowing you're pregnant all the way through to the end, but the conservative estimate is 1 in 4.
I think maybe we don't hear about a lot of the terminations, do we?
No,
the
you
miscarriages, because
you don't,
it's a
and I
private
think it's a bit of a contentious issue, because when people talk about terminations, you get the Sun headlines in the news, you know, those newspaper, a woman has 3 terminations because she can't be bothered to sort out a family planning. Actually, that isn't the case. What we're talking about is babies who've got anomalies. But actually, when we're looking at that 3,000 figure, what we're not including in those are those families who have to choose this horrible decision because mum's health is at risk. And we have this quite often at Good Hope as well, where mum will become septic, and the only way to save mum is to say you're going to have to end that pregnancy. Now you can say that to her at 24, 25 weeks, that she's felt that baby move, they've made plans for that baby, and that baby's heart will still be beating when we say that to her, and that baby can be born alive, and we can't do anything about it.
How heartbreaking for everybody.
Heartbreaking. So they can hold their baby as their baby dies.
What would cause that sepsis?
It depends. Sometimes if a mum's waters go, she can get what's called ascending infection, so she could get an infection that goes behind the placenta into her bloodstream and she becomes septic, and actually our only option at that point is to say to her, this is what's causing it, we need to get rid of the cause. I'm probably not one of the only people, but I would say I would be really, really happy if I turned into work tomorrow and they said, actually, we're never going to need you again. Do you know what I mean? That would be great for me. I'd be like, fantastic. Away from labour ward that allow for dignity and time, and that is the biggest thing really for families, is having that time with their baby. We've got a quiet room available as well, so that families, a visiting family can come away and just have somewhere quiet, and if mum and dad don't necessarily always want to spend time with their baby, but grandparents might do, so it gives us that facility. We've got opening visiting, flexible length of stay. We have some families stay for over a week, and that's absolutely fine. Some go home soon after delivery, and the baby stays with us. That's one way we differ from a lot of units, is we have mortuary facilities on our bereavement ward, so the babies stay with us until they go over for their funeral, which is great for mums and dads because it means they know exactly where their baby is all the time. And it also means it allows them 24-hour access to come back. So if at 3 o'clock in the morning they have an overwhelming urge to come and kiss their baby goodnight, they absolutely can. And we have that every day. Doesn't matter, they can come any day. It's open visiting. You have a baby, you never think you're going to be planning your baby's funeral. You never think you're going to be picking the outfit that they're going to wear in their casket, and you never think you're going to go home with just a box. So instead of going home with your baby, you go home with a box full of memories of your baby, and that is what you walk out that building with. So we try and build as much as we possibly can, and we throw as much as we can at these parents as well. You will get some parents that say no, they don't want anything. And our discussion with that would always be, do you know, if you have it and never ever look at it, that's fine. But if you don't have it and then you want it in 10, 20 years' time, we can't go back and do it. And I have ladies in their 80s phoning, asking can you find out where my baby is? Because in those days, they literally just took the baby away and the baby was incinerated with all the other clinical waste.
It's terrible, yes.
Or buried in graves, and what they tended to do years, and part of me thinks, oh, it's quite nice that they did it in that way, but at the same time I'm thinking, oh my God, why would you do that? They would bury the baby with a recently deceased woman, so in the same casket. These are some of the charities that we just our trust work with, and it goes to show that actually we can't do what we do without the support of charities. We just can't. All of these charities provide some sort of memory building or some sort of support for families. And it's only when you start scratching away at the surface that you actually see how many different charities are out there. But yeah, we can't do what we do without you. It's that simple. National Bereavement Care Pathway has been set up as a bit of a project with the Department of Health and the APPG. The APPG is the all-party parliamentary group, and it's around baby loss, and you may well have seen some of it in the newspapers. There's Will Quince, who's an MP who lost a baby. There's another MP who lost a baby. They're the ones who are pushing for the age of registration to come down, because pre-24 weeks at the moment, your baby's not registered anywhere other than with a hospital, so you don't get a birth certificate, you don't get anything at all. We provide them because we make our own, but actually your baby's not registered anywhere, legally didn't exist.
Because they don't recognise it as a baby.
Exactly, yeah, because it's not, there's no legal obligation to have that baby registered. So they're pushing, and as part of that, when they started looking at it, they were like, oh, hold on a minute, how come if you have a baby who dies there, you get all this, but if you have a baby who dies there, you get very little? So the whole point of this was to set up the MBCP, and it is in collaboration. It's SANS are the stillbirth and neonatal death people that you're probably aware of. And they work collaboratively with other charities. They work with professional bodies, so the RCOG, who are the Royal College of Obstetricians, the RCM, who are the Midwives Royal College, just to try and get something in place that was a bit robust, that was a care pathway, so that it offers high quality, equitable care no matter where you live. Kevin wanted me to talk a little bit about feedback from families about the service that you provide, and we get loads of really good feedback, and I could tell you till I'm blue in the face what I think you do is amazing. I always sing your praises because I just think to give up your time and your expertise though is just huge. It's huge. But actually what I wanted to do is introduce you to George. George was their third baby. And she came over back to the UK at about 36 weeks to have George in the UK. She'd had her two previous daughters in Cameroon and just kind of went, not sure I want to try that again. I'll come back, which was, lovely. So she booked initially under Warsaw and then decided to deliver at Good Hope, which was fine. So she came in and delivered their delightful little boy in October of 2015. Unfortunately, when George was born, it was discovered he'd got something called hydrops fetalis. Hydrops is where the body, body produces excess fluid, and that goes into all like the interstitial spaces. So in your tissue, it'll be around your heart, you have it everywhere.
I think she said there was a bit of leakage as well.
Yeah.
Was that why he was so heavy? Because
That's
a lot
why
of
he was so
fluid.
heavy.
Oh yeah, 15 pounds.
I remember he was
7
quite big. He
kilos.
was.
So unfortunately, his body couldn't cope with all that extra fluid, too much fluid, and something causes that. There's always a cause for hydrops. With Georgie's case, it didn't happen until very, very late into the pregnancy, and by the time she got to us at Good Hope, nobody knew that George had grown to the size he had. He really should have been born probably about 3.5–4 kilos tops, so he'd almost doubled his body weight in fluid, and his heart couldn't cope with it. So when he came out, despite extensive resuscitation, he only survived for 67 minutes. They are a reminder that George was real, that he grew inside me, that he was born. For my husband, those pictures were his only opportunity to see his son. They have enabled us to bring George with us to Cameroon. He sits in pride of place on the bookshelf. Easter egg hunt clues always include look next to George. At Christmas time, the girls decorate him. He is part of our family. He always will be. Of course, pictures don't change what's inside your heart as a parent. George is never far from me. But they give you something you can touch, something that lasts, something that's real, that sadly we didn't have with our boy. They give you a lifetime. Katie went on to have a little girl, Lily, who delivered in Cameroon, sadly at 25 weeks. But I think more than that, it's the care and time someone takes to understand. These pictures were all you will ever have of your child, ever. That for me is the special part. And not having anything of Lily, I feel the difference. Told you I was a crier.
I don't think you're alone.
I see her tiny face in my mind, but it's fading. George's pictures stop his face from fading for me. And I just think that kind of says it. I can't say it any more than that. That is the impact these photos have on people. That is the difference. That is the gift that you're giving to somebody, and it can't be understated. What you do is so wonderful, and it's important, and it's priceless.